Welcome back to another episode of Broke Up, Not Broken. I'm your host, Jamie Lima, and founder of Allegiant Divorce Solutions, where we help people better prepare for, navigate, and recover financially from divorce. This podcast is your one-stop shop for mastering your life and your finances throughout the entire divorce process. Today, I'm super excited to have Andy Paige, a renowned actress, stylist, author, and entrepreneur known for empowering women through fashion and style. You may also know her by her current role as Pearl on ABC's General Hospital. And though that role takes up a lot of her time, it doesn't stop there for her. She is also a fellow podcast host and runs her online store Shop Home and Heart, which brings a unique blend of practicality and flair to everyday living. Today, we're going to explore her thoughts on divorce and finances and probably interject some personal style and how you can use that to influence your confidence, especially during major life challenges like divorce. So grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, buckle up, and let's once again get you personally and financially empowered. Andy, it's so great to have you with us today.
What a great introduction. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be a part of your show. I wish that something like your show had been, a part of my divorce, years ago.
Well, I appreciate that we'll work on that lead in, but you have your bio. I was like, what do I pluck out of this bio? Because you're all over the place. You're doing so much. I don't know how you have any. Did you sleep or what's the story here?
I am a little tired. I did a QVC segment this morning at 1:30 a.m. and that's not a joke. I am a QVC host. I am, I play the role of Pearl on General Hospital. I invented a product, the Girly Go Garter, which has a life all unto itself. I have a best-selling book in 14 countries. I have been blessed beyond measure. And I am on my second marriage. And so I have a very interesting, kind of divorce story, if you will, or at least, the path that I took for divorcing my first husband was very different. So when I had the opportunity to kind of talk about my divorce experience, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to talk to him about that because I think that everybody thinks there's only one path to getting a divorce. It has to be contentious. It has to be, so negative. And it doesn't have to be.
No, absolutely. Well, we love having you here. It's going to be an amazing conversation. So let's start there with your divorce. Everybody that's listening to this show has heard all about mine ad nauseum here, but maybe tell us a little bit about your situation because it seemed to be pretty clean, cut and dry.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that we were able to remain friends, and I know that sounds crazy. But what actually happened in my first marriage is not that we stopped loving each other. It's just that we stopped growing in the same direction. And we ended up being more family than really, husband and wife. He was definitely a part of my family and I love him. I still do love him very much. And I want the best for him. But we no longer had, the connective tissue of husband and wife. So the first thing that we did was we separated. And so we did a legal separation for a couple of years to make sure, because, we were really dedicated to, having it be forever. And so we separated for a couple of years. We dated other people. We allowed ourselves that to see if that's really what we wanted. And then after a couple of years of being separated and me starting to date someone a little more seriously, I really realized I needed to get a divorce if I was going to, that was the next logical step. And so I reached out to my father, who was a judge and an attorney. And I was like, I don't really know what to do. I don't want to hire, some sort of lawyer that's going to turn this into a battle. I feel like this needs to be kind at the very least. And my dad's like, you don't have to you don't have to hire a lawyer. And I was shocked. I had never thought for 1 second that I could go through a divorce without an attorney. I was just completely shocked. And I said, you don't? He said, no. You and David can literally go down to the courthouse and get the paper. And he said, I bet you could probably fill out the paper in an afternoon yourself. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you serious? He said, yes. Go in, do your research, have a very strong understanding of all of your assets, have a very strong understanding of exactly what's in the bank, exactly what's going to happen, and literally just negotiate it. And that's what I did. And my divorce cost $120. And we went and got the paperwork. We went to the Starbucks. We sat down. We were there for probably 3 hours. We figured out how we were going to divide everything. The day we were going to officially move out, the day we were going to clean out like our storage room. We decided on all of it and held each other accountable for all of it, but then turned in the paperwork, gave each other a kiss, and like 3 weeks later, we got the decree that it was over.
That is absolutely incredible. We had a similar experience with a client case that I was just working on. I think we worked just through a couple sessions, so we're looking at probably like 3 or 4 hours, but that's pretty incredible. Were there any things that were a conflict during that, or did you guys just like everything went swimmingly?
No, I mean, so I would guess our storage space was probably, maybe the hardest part, just because we had moved around a lot and we had things in storage, and, trying to figure out from storage, what we were going to take, what we were going to keep, what was meaningful. That was probably the thing that was the most heartbreaking, because in storage, you have memories. And then, for me to be like, no, you have this. And then he'd be like, oh, I don't care. And throw it in the garbage. It's like, well, yeah, I guess that's where we are. Like, I get that. So there was some heartbreak there, but the truth is I love this person. I didn't stop loving him. And so what I really wanted for him was I wanted for him to find his next love. I didn't want him to be without love in his life. And so the other thing that I did is I actually helped him create his next dating profile. I wrote it for him, as a matter of fact, because I didn't want him to undersell himself. So I think that I'm really fortunate that even though I knew that we were no longer, going to be the forever couple that I thought that we were going to be, I was very clear that didn't mean that I did not love him. And even though there had been hurt, I mean, obviously, right? We had hurt each other. We're human. So there had been hurt. There had been, some foul words here and there, but not enough to the point where I couldn't stop and say, but wait. I loved this person enough to dedicate my life and my energy and like everything to being a couple with him. So I needed to get back to those feelings. And then we both did. We both talked about that. So there was some contention, but I never let it overshadow the fact that I loved him and I wanted to have what's best for him and what's best for me.
Amazing. So divorce is finalized. You get this $120 divorce. The ink is now finally dried on the decree. Then what? What happens with you?
I start dating, more seriously. So there was one person that I really liked, and we dated for 2.5 years. I felt like I needed to have that done. I didn't think I'd ever get married again, though. Very interestingly, my husband actually asked me to marry him 3 times, and I was like, I would love to say this is forever, but once you've gone through a divorce, you're very clear that it doesn't mean forever. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not looking to have kids. You've got your kids. I'm fine with keeping my assets and your assets. So I just didn't understand why it was necessary to get married. But after the second time that he asked me, and I was like, this just doesn't make sense to me. He's like, I will ask you one more time. And if you really don't want to marry me, I will find someone who does, because I don't want my daughters to see my girlfriend for the rest of my life. I need them to understand, that this is how you form a family, that they need to look for a husband. They need to look for a man who's willing to commit to them. And I want them to see it done the right way. And I was like, okay. So I said, okay, ask me one more time.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to say yes this time. Just go ahead and ask.
No.
Do you feel like you handle your finances different now? Or do you have any different perspective on finance? Because you're so successful, and you have all these amazing things going on. A lot of our listeners are not, unfortunately, not in that fortunate position though, and they have this stress about like how are they going to make it, and the divorce is now behind them, and they're in this whole new phase of life, and they're trying to figure out the financials. Like, anything you can speak to in that regard?
Yes. So with this marriage, I have a prenuptial agreement. I also have I have mine, yours, and ours. So we have a very specific budget on the household and, what's going to be contribute to that. In my prenuptial agreement, it's very clear that, what my assets are my assets and his assets are his assets, and anything that's created, we will address each and every one of those things that are created as to how a division might happen. So we have actually revisited our prenuptial agreement, a couple of times. And then when it comes to, his business or my business, any money that he, goes to my business is an investment, and it's seen as an investment, and the same is true. So we definitely handle our finances with much more business acumen and with much more business determination than, I ever did with my ex-husband, because we just had one account. We both drew from it. We paid every bill from it. So it's not that hard to have two or more accounts. I did learn that. So that definitely makes it easier. And I highly, for a second marriage, and especially if you're coming in with assets, I definitely believe in a prenup. And it's not just so that I'm protecting my assets and his assets. To be perfectly honest, my prenup really talks about, what I'm contributing to the household and also how I'm raising his kids. So, he had 3 young children when we got married, and I was taking on the role of, being a bonus mom and helping to raise them, with a lot of determination and effort. And so, if we were to separate, I will be compensated for that, effort. So that's also really important, because I felt like, okay, I'm taking on a lot here. So I definitely don't want to undersell myself. It's not, for me, it's not just a matter of me leaving with mine and yours. I want to have some sort of financial clarity on what it is that I'm contributing, not just financially, but emotionally and with effort as well.
I'm a big fan of prenups. I don't know why. We've talked about this in other shows, and I talked about in private with other professionals and with clients, but like there's such a stigma around the prenup. But I call it marriage insurance. We have insurance for everything, right? Andy, like we have car insurance, we have homeowners insurance. If you're renting a place, you have renter's insurance, you have this insurance, that. Like everything is insured except for our marriage. And in many ways, this is a business arrangement, right? You have two people that are effectively signing a contract to merge their lives together to form one union, and it doesn't always go as planned. So if you have that insurance in place, it can be super helpful in the back end, right? I mean, look at I'm originally from New England, so I'll throw it out there, like Tom Brady and Giselle. I was all over that. Like these guys, like they had it dialed. It was so dialed in. Their divorce was like over in 3 months or something, right? And they knew exactly what was going to happen if it went south. So I'm a big fan. Any additional thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree with you. I think that it is insurance, and in many ways, I think it's also a deterrent, because we do know exactly what's going to happen. We know exactly what's going to happen. And it's going to be hard on both of us, both financially. Do you see what I'm saying? So in many ways, we're more encouraged to make it work, because it is designed so that we are encouraged financially to stay where we are. So there are, and we did that specifically. Like it is more advantageous for us to stay together. There's no doubt about that. And if we separate, there's no doubt that, we know what's going to happen, but it is not going to be pretty. It's going to be a little hard on both of us. So to that end, we are much more encouraged to work it out, to stay together. And it is a little bit of an insurance and a little nudge that keeps us, back on the field and still playing the game.
Absolutely. I just wish there was the stigma would go away. Maybe it will over time if we more of us keep talking about it. And
well, I think the other thing about that is, the thing that I wanted to be clear in my prenup is, it wasn't just about protecting him. It was really about protecting me. And so I felt very empowered to be like, okay, we are going to get married and I do have these assets, but more than anything that I'm going to be contributing here, I'm going to be contributing a lot of energy to my in-laws. I mean, my My mother-in-law lives right across. I mean, I'm like looking at her house right now. Like she lives right across the field. I take care of her. I take care of so I basically spelled out, in our prenup, look, I mean, yeah, I have my assets, but what I'm going to do for you is worth something. And I stood up for myself in that way. So for me, the prenup was not about, me getting nothing. For me, the prenup was really being able to champion my worth.
I want to stick with that for a second because we work with a lot of women who are going through this exercise of divorce. And so many of them have been stay-at-home moms, and they've done just what you're saying you're doing. Like, I'm going to take care of the kids. We're going to get them on the school bus. We're going to take them off the school bus and medical appointments and extracurricular activities and so on and so forth. And not all of them have this prenup in place where there's already a framework for how they're going to be compensated for that work if they sacrifice their own career and their own lives. And this, Andy, we see this every day in the work that we do. One of the things that we do is we'll draft what's called a lifestyle analysis for all of our clients that are in that position and we're working with them. And the lifestyle analysis is basically a book report, which talks about all the work that they did and the contributions they made to the family home and so on. And it's designed to paint a picture to the courts to say, like, hey, listen, this is what I gave up. These are my contributions. This is what I'm asking for and why. And there's so many women out there that don't have any of that in place. So what would your message to them be?
Well, a prenup will help you do that very easily because, if you're going into a marriage, so many of us undersell, what we are contributing, building a home, raising kids, literally sacrificing on every possible level. We as women are taught to do this. I mean, self-sacrifice is just a part of a woman's DNA. I mean, and it's wonderful and we want to, and it's, rewarding and all of that. And it has value. So walking into a marriage with that understanding that of what you're going to do, what you're going to contribute, and that has value, really, I think it fortifies you through the prenup process. And I think that if I were, if anything were to ever happen, and I lost my husband or, I would do it again for sure. But I also am going to encourage my children to do it, my girls. And I say my girls because, I think of his kids as my girls now. I've been with them for 15 years. They're very much my kids. I've had a huge hand in raising them. So I think that a prenuptial agreement is something that you should absolutely think about. And I don't think that any woman should go into a union without really understanding the value of what you are contributing. I think that the value of and I feel very confident that if my husband were in the other room or, behind me, he would poke his head in and be like, she's right. Because he's so grateful for, what I have brought and how I have made his life, better on a million levels.
What about personal growth and personal development? Because you work with women on this stuff day to day. You speak about this, you write about this. I mean, this is an area of passion for yours, I'm guessing, right? Because based on the research that I did on you as a person, and a lot of them, again, stay-at-home moms who haven't focused on any of those things. They haven't had to think about a career or development and leaving the house and gaining experience and all those things. So we're like, if somebody was coming to you and saying, hey, Andy, how do you coach me on this? Like, what do I need? What are some of the first steps that I need to take now that, my divorce is almost over or my divorce has been over for a few weeks. Now I need to start thinking about the next phase of my life. If you were coaching me or somebody else that was in that situation, what would you say?
I would make a list of your curiosities, to be honest. Everything that interests you and that you are curious about. I'm 54 years old and I just started my first acting job. So I think that when we stop being curious about life and about, other people and about, just all the things that we can learn and how we can, help our life be bigger and bigger, that's when, we kind of start to age and we ultimately just get stagnant. So the first place you want to look is, what are you still curious about? What would you like to learn? where would you like to go and grow? And how do you want to see yourself developing from here? And so curiosities, I think, is just where you start. And then you just build on those curiosities. I mean, for me, every single situation that I go into, I walk into with the ability to ask that I be taught, teach me more. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I see that. Oh, so I try my best to stay curious, because the minute that I feel like I know everything about something, or that I, am closed off to learning, that's when everything stops. But if you can, no matter your age, no matter your situation, open every day with curiosity and wonder, and, be open to guidance, people will teach you and doors will open. You just have to be, you have to put all the disdain and the negativity away and be grateful for all that you have and the ability to start over.
How do you do that, though, when it's in many ways people's worlds have crumbled?
Yep. You make a list. I mean, I'm a big list writer. So I am constantly, the minute that you can, every single day, even if it's in a small way, list 5 things that you're grateful for today, 5 things that, you improved today. Give me 5 things that you're grateful for today. Even if it's just, that your toilet flushed properly, or all of your light bulbs are screwed in the right way. I mean, the more gratitude and awareness that you bring to your life, that your life will get larger and larger and larger. It's just being grateful for what you have right now. Right now, you have, clothes on your back. Hopefully you are warm. Maybe there, is food in the refrigerator, hopefully, or someone has provided you a meal. It's just walking in gratitude will help you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's where you build. I know that that's hard too, when you feel like the world has crumbled, but you have to look around and see, okay, what am I still grateful for?
It's super hard to do that some days.
Definitely. Hard. Which is why some days it's just the light bulbs.
When you're in the throes of it, I mean, some days that's all you have, right?
Yeah. But, you still have breath. You still have, hopefully your health. There are still things that you can be grateful for. And you're right. I mean, all of us have been, really down. The great news is you can't fall off the floor. And so when you hit the floor, there's only one way back up. And so you just have to start with, okay, I'm grateful for the floor I'm lying on. And here we go. I'm going to find gratitude in my life.
What about family support and support of other folks? I always have this go-to saying, which is, creating team you in divorce, right? So you have your financial support people like myself that can support you through a divorce. You have your legal help, which, again, newsflash, like Andy said earlier, you don't need attorneys to get you through a divorce if that's your mindset, and it's not always accurate. But you have your financial, you have your legal, you have your divorce coach, you have your family therapist, you have whomever to help you. Like, what about? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I think that's
I definitely do.
Missing so much.
So one of the things that I'm about to blow your mind right now. So my mom, unlike I've been divorced once. My mom has been married 9 times.
You're kidding.
No. So I love her. She's lovely. She's not my go-to. So I always am very grateful for the family that God gave me. We can't change that, but I have worked very hard to cultivate, a family, if you will, that I can, depend on and look to and am inspired by, that I believe in, and that I revere. So, family is great, and they're going to be there, and it's wonderful that you can rely on them, but don't think that, you can't really create your own if you need to. I mean, I am very grateful for my family, and I'm so very grateful for my upbringing. I mean, my positive attitude came from my grandparents. Like I really appreciate, the God-fearing upbringing that I had. And I have taken that and built on it and, created relationships and worked hard to build relationships that I both fortify them, they fortify me, So yeah, family is wonderful. And I also think this is a new time if you are in a divorce situation where you need to look around and really think, okay, who am I missing in my life? How can I build new friendships? How can I forge new bonds that I can both support someone and be rewarded by that, and I can feel supported? And I did work on that. The relationships and the friendships that I have post my first divorce are very different because I did recognize that one of the hardest things in this divorce was going to be losing like that core group of friends. So I have worked very hard to have, that family, if you will. That was a very big lesson that did come from divorce. And I now have a whole new kind of stable of people that I depend on and consider family in a different way.
Yeah. You have to have that support system. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my own divorce was pushing family away because I was like, I've got this. I'm going to handle this on my own. I don't want to have to. I'm on the West Coast. My entire family's on the East Coast. I don't want them to worry, right? I mean, you're a mom. I can imagine what my mother was thinking when I was going through this. She wanted, even at 47, almost 47 years old, I'm still her baby, right? So if you're out there, you're listening, and you're falling into that same trap that I did, which is, trying to go it alone. It's a big mistake. It's a big mistake.
I would definitely agree with that. You are going to need friends. I mean, it's sad. It's hard. It's change. It's, it's starting over. It's all of it. So you definitely need not only a sounding board, but someone who will listen to the same story and same woe 100 times and be kind enough to be like, I know that's really hard. And just, hear it one more time until, you get it all out. So, yeah. It is amazing how important friendships are at this particular time. And sometimes you just need, a couch to sleep on, or you never know, what you might need. So, but I don't want people to think that, their moms and dads are the only people that they can turn to. I mean, I had to learn that. Even though I will tell you that my ex-husband continued to go to my family reunion for like 3 years because everybody loves him so much, and everybody's still, connected to him on social media. So, I mean, I just talked to him the other day. So my ex-husband, believe it or not, is, just like I said, still very much kind of a part of my family, which also kind of made it a little hard, which is the other reason why I felt like I needed friends, because I didn't want to take that away from him. I didn't want to take my family away from him. But at the same time, I needed friends that I could talk to about, the reality of why he became, kind of like my brother and not my husband, and the reality of what happened. Because, growing apart is hard, but I didn't want to taint him to, people that he might need as well. So having friends that I could be 100% honest with became very important.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I think you guys hit it out of the park as far as the way you handled it. I've seen the spectrum, where my divorce, Andy, was not like that at all. We're $75,000 into my divorce, and I'm not LeBron James. Okay. Like it was ridiculous. But I've since remarried myself, and my wife now, her divorce was $1,000 because prices have gone up a little bit. They're a little bit more expensive since maybe you had yours, but there was $1,000 divorce, and everybody's friends. And like, I'm in a fantasy football league with her ex-husband so like, that's just how it is, right? But two very opposite ends of the spectrum. And I see it every day, day in and day out, where we have people that are duking it out, spending $10,000, $20,000 to fight over $2,000 objects in their house that they could easily replace. And then we also work with people that are mediating, trying to mediate the case and do just what you and your ex-husband did, which is effectively uncouple.
Yeah.
And we see it happen all the time.
It doesn't have to be awful, but you do have to swallow. Like, you got to eat some crow. You have to be willing to, both of you have to be willing to swallow for the good of both of you. I mean, that's the ultimate truth. I mean, compromise is hard because it means you don't get everything you want.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're going to be much more emotionally whole and probably financially whole. So the compromise is definitely worth it.
Yeah. I've heard the saying is that if you walk away from mediation feeling like you won, it was done incorrectly.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, that's probably true.
Everybody should be walking away feeling like they gave up a little something.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And I mean, that my $120 divorce, I mean, I know that it saved us thousands of dollars. There's no doubt about that. But in the end, what it really saved us was just emotional hell, because you're talking about someone who knows everything about you and who knows how to hurt you harder than anyone else on the planet. I mean, your spouse is someone who, knows the buttons. So you've got to be kind to each other. You've got to be kind to each other. It's really, it can be the biggest hurt in the world. So, and sometimes that means you have to go first. You have to be kind first. So, that's the other thing.
Sometimes tough, but you're absolutely right. This is what I call the Carte Blanche segment of our show. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything you want to share with the audience before we part ways here today?
Well, I'm so fortunate that ABC and General Hospital has me on this podcast tour. I have done so many different podcasts and I have enjoyed it so much, but I do feel like I just need to remind your listeners that General Hospital is still on the air. And I'm so fortunate to be the latest cast member. And you can go to shophomeandheart.com to learn all about, what's going on the show and the new innovations that are happening with General Hospital and ABC, and how a legacy show like General Hospital, it's been on for 61 years, is maintaining its place in the world with still 2 to 3 million viewers a day.
I will guarantee that my mother is still watching. So she's going to be very, very excited about this episode. I was actually named after Jamie, who was a character on, was it Another World? Was that the name of the show?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, what's your mom's name?
Her name is Donna.
Hey, Donna.
And I'm gonna definitely send this to her when it comes out. But was it Another World? What was that show she was? Anyway, Jamie? I was named after a soap opera. So she definitely got, I was going to be Jamie either way, because she fell in love with that name because of the show. So she watched all the soap operas. When I was a kid, I remember watching General Hospital, all of them.
I love it. Yeah, I actually watched it too. I watched it with my great grandmother growing up. So when I got the call, I couldn't even believe it. But, everybody's watching TV in a different way. And so it's still on, it's still streaming. There's lots of amazing things going on. So I'm grateful for this time. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And, this podcast journey has led me in so many different directions. And I am so glad that I had my time with you to share my experience, because I forget how fortunate I am to have had that experience. And I am very happy to share it and to make people aware you don't have to have an attorney. It doesn't have to be awful.
Yeah. Well, hey, I couldn't have said it any better. I appreciate your time. It's so amazing to have you with us here today. Thanks so much again for sharing your experience and advice with us. For those interested in exploring more about Andy's work and her approach to not only fashion, but other areas, she does it all, guys. Just visit her website. We're going to put all this in the show notes. You'll have all the links to all of her social media channels and everything else. Don't forget, General Hospital is still on, like she said. And remember, if you're navigating financial adjustments or seeking ways to maintain your post-divorce lifestyle on a budget, Allegiant Divorce Solutions is here to help. Visit AllegiantDS.com for more expert financial guidance. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful discussions just like this. And until next time, we'll see you again.